otherwise may not have a chance to experience nature. I've been a Splore volunteer for the past 8 years and would like to tell you why. Why the harmony of wilderness and nature somehow soothes the pain, the hurt, the frustration. Why when a blind participant asked me to describe the Red Canyon walls of the Colorado River, I cried. Why giving back something to the community gives me a feeling of contentment. Why watching participants build outdoor skills, independence, and self-esteem is so important to me. Why communicating with participants who cannot, quote, communicate is so very special. Why watching handicap stereotypes disappear in society as a result, in part, of Splore's work is exciting. Why when helping people who have disabilities as a result of accidents, I see myself. How many close calls have you had? Why watching attitudes change and disabilities change is so gratifying. And why hearing participants say, I can and I did, is the ultimate definition of success. Actually, I can't tell you why. Why is an experience, an adventure in life. I invite you to share in the experience of Splore. I promise personal growth and an increased quality of life for you and for those you help. Splore exists because you care.
Nature teaches us that we are all a family, that we share the same desires, the same needs. Whether we are blind or deaf, whether we are in a wheelchair, whether we are affected by a disabling disease, or by mental retardation, we all belong to the same family. We have the same feelings and reactions to each other and to our environment. That is why we are here. That is why we exist. We are Splore, Special Populations Learning Outdoor Recreation and Education. And we are dedicated to breaking through the self-imposed limitations and labels placed upon all of us.
Now we got some lawn chairs. I'm going to start with the small one and then work up to the big one.
Splore is a group of dedicated individuals in Utah who provide outdoor experiences for people with disabilities of all kinds in some of the most spectacular settings in the country. In summer, we run the Colorado and Green Rivers. In spring and fall, we rock climb in Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons. And in winter, we ski and sled in Utah's Rocky Mountains. The effect of what Splore does, however, is immeasurable. It changes perspectives and opens doors which have been locked on the inside and out. The keys to those doors are simple things, things able-bodied people take for granted. Being out alone in the wilderness, the feel of an oar in your hands, sitting around a campfire with friends.
Now, Kathy, tell me this isn't the first time you've ever done
This
that.
is the very first time I've ever
Well,
done
let me teach you how to do it.
Kathie Costin is participating in her second Splore River trip. She has been using a wheelchair for the past 4 years, and her first Splore experience created dramatic changes in her life. She says it opened her eyes to her capabilities.
Before my last trip, I wasn't getting out of the house very much. In fact, that was probably the first time in 4 years since I'd been in the chair that I had even worn shorts or a tank top. And the trip and the people and the experience showed me what I can do instead of what I can't. And it built up my self-esteem, and it gave me hope, a lot of hope. And for the first time in my life, first time since being in the wheelchair, I'm doing more with my life than ever before. And it wasn't just being on the river. It's not just a river experience. I could take what I learned on this river, what I got out of it, back home with me, and it's made a change there too. Even my friends have noticed it.
right in here.
The kind of change that Kathy experienced is one of the main reasons we do what we do. Splore's purpose is to act as a catalyst in people's movement toward independence. It is this environment that helps us achieve those results. And many participants, just like Kathy, would not be able to get out into a remote environment if additional support and medical backing were not readily available.
We in there. Okay.
Patty Mulvihill's involvement with Splore began in its early formative years. She has served as a volunteer, program coordinator, and executive director. During that time, she has seen many participants leave Splore trips with a new appreciation for themselves and the wilderness.
Nature's the great equalizer. You know, out in the wilderness we can drop labels like blind and deaf and mental retardation, physically disabled. It really helps break down barriers. And so many times we see our participants do things that they and others just didn't think they could do.
It's difficult to convey the feeling of a Splore experience. It is an intangible, indescribable spirit which emerges from special moments on the river and in the mountains.
Up.
Dave's on top today. You remember him? Okay, I'm going to tie you in. Whoops. Right. Do you remember what to say to Dave?
Boy.
Right-o. That's it. Okay.
Up rope.
Okay, what do you say to him real loud?
Boy. Climbing.
Climb away.
In many of these experiences, people address their fears. You know, we're all afraid of something. And what Splore tries to do is find out where a person is in regard to their fears and their concerns. And out of this awareness comes a term that we refer to as perceived risk. It's that actual emotion a person feels when confronted in an unknown situation. For a mentally retarded person who has been institutionalized most of his life, to walk out on a snowy hill and put on a pair of skis, that's risky. The same risk a competent mountaineer feels when he or she leads a first ascent. The feeling they both have is the same. And so is the feeling of accomplishment. And that's why we do what we do. To help people step through risk and into accomplishment, the words "I can" and "I did it," they feel great. And if we limit our lives, we don't allow for success or accomplishments.
These experiences could not take place without the active participation of Splore's volunteers. Each year, close to 100 people generously donate their time and efforts. They represent all facets of society, from businessmen and women to doctors, nurses, and recreational specialists. Splore trains each volunteer, but each brings their own unique gift, that of themselves, their friendship and sharing of physical and emotional support. When this core of people comes together in the wilderness, when the labels are dropped and the self-imposed limitations are forgotten, that is when the doors start to unlock. Kathie Costin, whom you met earlier, describes how her doors opened.
Something happened on that first trip that really changed my life, and it really changed the way I look at things. And I had been watching John Gallen, who's one of the Splore instructors and volunteers, and it made me realize what I could do. And John does everything that I can't do. He moves equipment, he gets in and out of the raft easily, and he goes up and down hills where people have a hard time walking. One morning, I asked him why his wheels were set differently than mine, and he said it made popping wheelies and going through the sand and going up curbs a lot easier. And that really stuck in my mind. And it made me think of all the places that I've always wanted to go into, but I couldn't, just because there was a curve there. So I asked him to set mine, and he did.
Okay, so your brackets are forward. Should make it a little more tippy, but that's okay. You'll learn to live with that.
After that, I was just rolling around camp, and I came up to a steep hill, and I didn't wait for somebody to help me like I usually did. I just decided to try it by myself. After I climbed up that hill, I knew that I would be getting up curbs in the city.
Kathie's is just one story about one participant out of over 2,000 that Splore has served.
What happens out here is pure magic. The therapeutic value is hidden in the waves, in the rocks, and in the snow. And the magic that happens not only affects us here, but ripples out into the community as we take these experiences home with us. They are the treasures of Splore.
The spirit of Splore is found in these faces and in these quiet moments.